one more time. Give it up for Kimberly Ellis.
Well, good morning, exceptional women of color. I bring you greetings from the San Francisco Bay Area and very heavily traffic congested area. It is indeed an honor and a pleasure to be with all of you this morning as we celebrate the 10th anniversary of the Sacramento Cultural Hub, celebrating more than 200 amazing women in this community. And so I want to just say I am honored to be in your presence today. Over the last couple weeks, we've seen the white male-dominated patriarchy on full display. We've seen women demeaned, devalued, and dismissed. We saw them prove over and over again that as far as they are concerned, women do not matter. But of course, for so many of us, the fact that Dr. Christine Blasey Ford's claim of being sexually assaulted would be summarily dismissed is nothing new. Let us never forget that the road for her to share her story was indeed paved and made possible because she stands on the very broad shoulders of the woman who came decades before her. Her name is Anita Hill. So regardless of what they say, we of course do know that women matter. Women matter because we are 52% of the population on planet Earth. Women matter because we are the majority of the workforce. Women matter because here in America, we exercise decision-making control over $11.2 trillion every year. Women matter because we are the caretakers, the breadwinners, and the waymakers. Women matter because we hold up half the sky. Women matter because we do. But it's not enough for us to just say that women matter. We need to show that women matter. And whereas I do believe that protesting and marching and calling and signing petitions is important and necessary to continue moving the chains of progress forward, that's not what I mean when I say it's time for us to show that women matter. I know that some of you know me from my campaign last year to be the chair of the California Democratic Party. There were numerous slogans and taglines and mantras that we utilized during that historic campaign to democratize the Democratic Party. But one of them in particular was my favorite. It was the one that I used to hear my grandma June say all the time. She would say, "Don't talk about it, be about it." When it comes to showing this state, our country, and our world that women of color matter, it's time for us to stop talking about it and start being about it. Today I want to talk about 3 specific ways that women of color can start being about it. If we really want to fight back, start winning, and prove once and for all that women do matter, I believe that one of the best ways we can go about it is for women of color to get our physical, financial, and political health in order. And for me, that starts and ends with an unwavering, undying, unapologetic self-love. I believe that the greatest act of love is self-love. To be clear, I'm not talking about an egotistical, vain, or conceited kind of love. I'm talking about the kind of self-love that understands that in order to give love, and in order to be of the greatest service to our communities, we must first start by loving ourselves. There's a saying that if you want to change the way others treat you, you should first change the way you treat yourself. So if we look at the statistics around our physical, financial, and political well-being, the stats suggest that we are not taking care of business. And we can't ask other people to do more for us than we are willing to do for ourselves. So when it comes to our physical health, at a time when California is more racially and ethnically diverse than ever before, nearly twice as many of us, women of color, describe ourselves as being in fair or poor health. Women of color in America die from cervical cancer at more than twice the rate of white women. In fact, we're dying at rates comparable to those in much poorer developing countries. 37% of Hispanic women and a third of black women lacked health care coverage in 2013, compared with just 12% of white women. In the United States, black infants die at twice the rate of white infants. The increased likelihood of death by breast cancer is 40% higher for black women. For those of us who are women of color, I want to remind us of this quote from 1 Corinthians. Do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit, who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own. You were bought at a price. Therefore, honor God with your body. Yes. Women of color, it is time for us to honor our bodies so that we can fulfill our purpose of helping to bring about fairness and justice and equity and peace and joy and love to our world. Now let's talk about money. According to the New York Times, for every $100 in white family wealth, black families hold just $5.04. The Economic Policy Institute found that more than 1 in 4 black households have 0 or negative net worth, compared to less than 1 in 10 white families. By 2020, black and Latino households are projected to lose even more wealth, a projected loss of 18% for blacks and 12% for Latinos. Today, white women make 80 cents on the dollar to their white male counterpart. For black women, it's 62 cents on the dollar. And for Latina women, it's 54 cents. Besides advocating to close these unacceptable wage gaps, we must also take proactive steps, beginning with building wealth by investing in ourselves. Yes. This starts by investing in our communities. We must start investing and reinvesting in black businesses, black colleges, black churches, black startups, black doctors, black lawyers, black accountants, black school teachers, black candidates, black people. How can we expect anyone to invest in us if we will not invest in ourselves? It is time for us to get our money right. It is time for us to not just work and hustle for our money, but to make our money work and hustle for us. And now my favorite topic, politics. From the price you pay at the gas pump, to whether or not you have a grocery store that offers fresh fruits and vegetables, whether you realize it or not, every single aspect of our lives is political. As women of color, we are quickly becoming one of the largest and most influential voting blocs in this country. Black women are the backbone of the Democratic Party. Simply put, we are the base, and without us, candidates cannot win. And although we are one of the largest demographics in this country, women of color are the least represented in elected office. Collectively, women of color comprise less than 6% of our Congress. That is not acceptable. Yes, we must vote in every election, presidential, midterm, special, and otherwise. But it's time for us to take a step further. It is time for us to not just show up at the polls to vote, but to show up at the polls on the ballots as candidates. We also need to make sure we show up at the meetings. The system of oppression depends on us not showing up. We need to get educated, get informed, know the facts, and show up. Decisions are made by the people who show up. And finally, as it relates to getting our political health in order, I know that many of us are frustrated, disillusioned, and perhaps even angry by what's going on at the federal level with our Congress and the buffoonery that's coming out of the White House. But instead of hurling our words at the TV screens, newspapers, or worse, at each other, let us harness our passions and make a real difference. Fewer angry Facebook rants and more direct organizing for action at the local level. Many of us forget that most of the landmark federal policies first originated at the local level, has a long history of shaping change in our country from the ground up. From women's suffrage to minimum wage to environmental protection and marriage equality, all of these policies began at the local and state level. It is time for us to remember the power of the grassroots. Our power, people power, local power. And so one of the first things I suggest we do is to focus our attention and efforts on how we can positively impact things at the local level. Do you know the name of your mayor, your council member, your sheriff, your district attorney, your water board members? If not, learn them today. And most importantly, learn their voting records. And if they are not serving the interests of women and people of color in our communities, then vote them out. Our local government, our local communities, our local problems, and our local solutions can all be solved by us. Local government manages a lot of different things, and their decisions directly affect almost every aspect of our lives. There is no level of government that is more directly responsible for serving our community than our local elected officials. From potholes to public transit, from drinking water to quality schools, from deciding sanctuary city status to policing and public safety, including holding police accountable, from rent costs and affordable housing, from alcohol and cannabis ordinances, from city colleges and job training programs, to recycling options and garbage pickup. Our local government has a lot of money and a lot of influence to decide what our communities prioritize and how they will be run. Most of the issues that we care so deeply about, whether it be criminal justice reform, affordable housing, poverty, a living wage, police accountability, Medicare for all, these are all issues that we can address at the local level. And finally, as it relates to the issue of focusing on the local level, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the critical role that local politics play, not only in the creation of local and state level policy, but also in the selection and training of the next generation of political leaders. The local elections of today are selecting the politicians of tomorrow. Historically, there has been a national ignorance of and apathy towards local politics, which quite frankly has limited our ability to audit and affect who will be the future leaders of our political parties. Chuck Schumer, the Senate Minority Leader, began his political career in the New York State Assembly. Mitch McConnell, the Senate Majority Leader, was elected to the position of judge and executive in Jefferson County, Kentucky, long before he ever ran a Senate campaign. Senator Dianne Feinstein was first elected to the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, and Senator Chuck Grassley, he served in the Iowa House of Representatives. Anyone who dislikes any of these individuals who I just named should reflect on the simple fact that if Schumer, McConnell, Feinstein, or Grassley had not been elected at the local level, they likely would have never climbed the ranks to serve in their current positions today. As the former executive director of Emerge California, I know firsthand the importance of training and grooming the next generation of political leaders. And this year, 2018, it is more crucial than ever before that we help to shape the next generation of political leaders, because it promises to not only be a political turning point, but a demographic turning point, with more women and people of color running this year more than ever before. We need to elect leaders at every level, but especially at the local level, who have the brass backbones and the courage of their convictions. More than ever, we need progressive champions who aren't afraid to say healthcare is a basic human right, and we need to pass Medicare for all. Leaders who will fight for jobs for our young people. Leaders who aren't afraid to say we need gun control. Leaders who understand that affordable housing is everyone's problem. Leaders who will say unapologetically that there is no middle ground on a woman's right to choose. Our local communities can serve as a silver lining during this dark storm to help lead our country out of the darkness and into the light. Ladies, it is time for us to dig deep and to remember who we are and where we came from. We are a new generation of women leaders who are emboldened, educated, and woke AF. Cleopatra, Isis, Nefertiti, Athena, Manat, Hatshepsut. We are the givers and protectors of life, birthing everything from ideas to civilizations. We were the rulers, the warriors, the queens, and the goddesses. Let us not forget that power is never given. It is always taken. And it is time for us as women of color to collectively wake up, rise up, and to take back our power and lead. Exceptional women of color and the men who love and support us. It is time for us to get off the sidelines in every way, to flex our activist muscles and report to the battlefield. We all have a role to play in bringing about a state, a country, and a world that is more fair, more equitable, and more just for all of us. Let's get to it.